I welcome you one and all to the series. For our reflection today, we shall look at the book of Genesis, chapter 39, from verse 6b to 12. This narrates the temptation that Joseph faced from Potiphar's wife and how he escaped from it. The theme is the temptation of Joseph. My aim is to tease out some lessons that can be learned from the story. The mystery about life is that just when things begin to fall in place or seem to be going well, then the devil rears his ugly head or trouble comes uninvited. It is as if man's life on earth is to be characterized by misery and pain. Now that Joseph has found favor with his master, another trouble comes up. His master's wife wants them to have an affair. I wish to draw your attention to three very important points. The first is the peculiar challenge that comes with beauty or charm. It is worth noting that the verse 6b describes Joseph as very handsome and well built. The truth is that temptation does not occur in a vacuum. Joseph's appearance was that which attracted the wife of Potiphar. As a result of this, she looked at him lustfully. The point is that it is what we possess that becomes the source of the temptation. For Joseph, it was his beautiful or charming appearance. For some of us today, it can be money, it can be power, it can also be the talents we have. The many things we crave for can at the end be the reason for the temptation. The point has to be eloquently made that the lovely features we have may prove to be a snare both to the people who have them and to the people who look at them. The second point is the temptation proper. Potiphar's wife comes boldly with her intention. "Come," she says, "and sleep with me." This is the reality of the temptation for Joseph. We should just imagine a young man presented with this offer in our hypersexualized world. What will he do? For some of us, our temptation may come from the false security we have because of the accomplishment, the prestige, or the power. These may be like gods or idols that we hold on to tightly. How about the love of money, which scripture says is the root of all evil? Because of this, we use every means possible, whether by hook or by crook, to acquire it. How about the spiritual neglect? It is also another form of temptation, as a result of which godly things no longer appeal to us. The truth is that temptation is real. The third is the powerful example of Joseph's resistance. One of the most common ways that people justify what they do is by saying that everyone else is doing it. Joseph did not employ this way of thinking. For him, two things stood out. The first is the consciousness of the trust his master had reposed in him. That trust meant that he exercised authority over everything except the wife of his master. It is very inspiring to note that Joseph appreciated the trust and was conscious of his boundaries. How many times have we not betrayed the trust of our partners, of our friends, or of our bosses? In the face of temptation, the question is, are we guided by the trust reposed in us, or we allow our emotions to take the better part of us? From the story, the trust reposed in Joseph was an asset which was used to overcome temptation. And this is the lesson we learn, that the trust reposed in us can be an asset to be used in the face of temptation. And we must try not to betray that trust. The second thing that Joseph did was when he described the proposal as a great sin against God. The consciousness of God in the face of temptation was a tool used by Joseph to overcome temptation. And this is worth noting. Sleeping with the master's wife was a terrible sin that Joseph could not contemplate or imagine. The question is, how often do we use the consciousness of sin to overcome or to avoid temptation? Don't we live in a world where sexual sin is no longer a burden on the conscience? The fear of God, as scripture says, is the beginning of wisdom. This is what Joseph displayed in the face of sin. Furthermore, it's important to mention that despite the explanation offered by Joseph, Potiphar's wife still pressured him day after day, to the extent that the story says Joseph had to keep his distance. Finally, what happened? She grabbed him by his garment, demanding that he sleeps with her. At this, Joseph tore himself away and ran from the house. It is amazing to note that as the woman was bent on carrying on with her intention, Joseph too was determined and remained resolute not to do her bidding. Does it strike us how many relationships or marriages might still be intact if we behaved like Joseph in responding to sexual temptation? The truth is that due to weakened willpower and weakened self-control, we give in too easily to temptation. Permit me, therefore, to conclude with two biblical texts in relation to temptation. The first is from 1 Peter chapter 5, from verse 8 to 9, and it says, and I quote, "Stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Stand firm against him and be strong in faith." Remember that your Christian brothers and sisters all over the world are going through the same kind of suffering you are, unquote. Then St. Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, and I quote, "The temptations in your life are no different from what others experience. And God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, he will show you a way out so that you can endure," unquote. In the face of great temptation, we find a powerful example of resistance from Joseph. May this be our inspiration in moment of our temptation. God bless you.